Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm taking a look at the Transformers Shatterglass Deluxe class Sideswipe and Minicon Whisper. Now I already have a review of the Shatterglass Runimus up on the channel right now, so make sure you check it out after this one. Let me know what you think of these figures in the comment section down below. Is it a pickup or a pass? Now let's take a look at the figures packaging. So here we have the packaging. Starting at the very front, we have Transformers on the side. We have the Shatterglass logo at the bottom of the box done in white text with a really cool shattered Decepticon symbol at the bottom of the box as well, with a really cool shattered Autobot symbol at that top corner there. We have two really cool artwork shots of Runimus and Sideswipe and some really cool running action poses firing some blasters. We also do have Runimus, Sideswipe, and Decepticon Whisper in white text. If we do turn to the top of the box, we have another Transformers Shatterglass logo there. We also do have a really cool kind of artwork shot or flight pose of Whisper in his jet mode. If we do turn to the side of the box, we have another really cool close-up of Runimus with his name done in white and another shattered Autobot symbol as well. And if we do turn to the other side, we have another really cool close-up of Whisper and Sideswipe with another shattered Decepticon symbol and also their names done in white text as well. And if we do flip to the back, we have several product shots of all three figures. We also do have a brief description or bio, which I'm going to read for you right now. It says, Sideswipe has defected to the Decepticons, now battling the Autobots with his Minicon partner Whisper. Runimus aims to gain the Autobots and into a cutthroat team of mercenaries with himself at the lead. So Runimus transforms in 29 steps. Of course, there's a product shot of him and his robot, his alt mode. Sideswipe transforms in 16 steps. There's a product shot of him and his robot in alt mode. And the final figure here, Minicon Decepticon Whisper, transforms in 6 steps. And there's a product shot of him and his robot in alt mode as well. And that is pretty much it for the packaging. So let's now get into the review. Here we have Sideswipe and Minicon Whisper and their sports car and spaceship alt modes. Let's take a look at the details. I'm going to start off with taking a look at the details of Minicon Whisper. So I'm just going to move Sideswipe off to the side for now. So here we have Minicon Whisper in his really cool, small, cute sort of spaceship mode. I do love the gold trim on the entire edge or sides of the jet with some really nice cool dark gray for the entire top half, and this back fin here with some really nice dark evil red for the entire kind of cockpit or window section there with some really cool sort of thrusters or cannons at the back, which actually do form the fingers and the hands for the other mode, which I really do like how they use that in multiple ways or multiple purposes. And there's a bit of turquoise blue in certain areas here and of course underneath. Unfortunately, it actually doesn't come with any accessories, but you can actually sort of transform them or modify them so you can actually combine and attach to Sideswipe sports car alt mode. So I'm going to show that transformation right now. It's really straightforward and simple. You're just going to flip to the underside of the jet. You're going to disconnect the legs. How these were tabbed into place is there's these two little spikes and there's of course two slots. That's how that was tabbed into place. You're just going to pretty much flip the legs from the underside of the jet to the top side of the jet so then you can actually access this post so it can attach to Sideswipe. So you're just going to flip these around. There is two gaps, of course, on the back sides or the back of the legs, and there is two tabs, and that's how that's going to tab into place. You're just going to align those up and tab those into place. Same thing on their side. Just tab those into place like that. Align that all up. And there we have the transformation for Whisper, so we can now combine to Sideswipe. I'm not going to show that whole feature right now because I do want to take a look at the details of Sideswipe's sports car alt mode, which is what we're going to do right now. So here we have Sideswipe in his sports car alt mode looking very futuristic and cool. Overall, of course, detail-wise, I do love that huge gash or kind of slash on the entire front portion right here with the really cool purple Autobot symbol. Still not used to seeing that. And you might be wondering, why does he have an Autobot and Decepticon symbol? Well, there is actually a brief bio or kind of description on the back of the box where it says Sideswipe actually used to be a part of the Autobots, but he defected to the Decepticons, so that's why there's two symbols, in case you're wondering. I do like this really cool kind of creamy gray for the entire sort of base color of the figure with a really cool turquoise blue for this entire section here and the headlights. And if we do flip to the side, I've always really loved this kind of star badge design. They pretty much put this on every single use or variation of the Kingdom and Siege Sideswipe mold, so I really do like that. They're a mushroom peg, but I actually quite like this design with the silver and black. I'm not a big fan of this really nice, this really cool transparent sort of smoky gray plastic. I do like that. I think that's a really cool piece of transparent plastic, but in the way they used it probably wasn't the smartest because you can see all that ugly kibble and junk in there. So they probably should have put that on another figure or another area of this figure because it does not look the greatest where they put that. So they probably could have tweaked that a little bit better. Maybe they could have tinted it more so you couldn't see as much of that stuff because it looks quite ugly. I do like the smoky gray. It's cool, but when you look at all that junk, it doesn't look as good. But I do like these really cool futuristic windows on the sides. They're kind of the doors on the side with a really nice kind of turquoise blue and gray with a really cool kind of layered paneled effect in the back. Overall, it's a very cool futuristic sports car and overall rolls pretty well across the ground. So now for some alt mode comparisons. Here he is with his pack mates, that being Ronimus Prime. And his review is up on the channel right now. Make sure you go check that one out after this one. And overall, relatively pretty much the same size, but they look really cool side by side. Probably two of my favorite of like the, all the Shatterglass figures, probably the top two and that like top 5 ranking. Probably some of these are my favorite 2 of the Shatterglass figures ever. So definitely really impressed with these releases. But as for another comparison, here he is with his mold mates, that being the Kingdom Sideswipe, the original use of this mold. I think they look quite cool side by side. And the only major mold change in this mode is of course that huge slash or kind of gash in the entire front area there, but all the other areas are of course the exact same, really just of course a coat of paints. And I do have to kind of reinstate or re-say what I said earlier. The entire windscreen section does not look that good. I actually really like this metallic blue because you cannot see all that kibble underneath. They actually did make that same mistake with the G2 Universe Sideswipe from that Toxitron collection line. If you watched that review, I did mention that as well. So probably wasn't the best idea to use like a see-through or like a clear plastic. They probably should have done like a color plastic so you couldn't see all that kibble and junk underneath. But I think they look really cool side by side. And please do let me know in the comments of all the variations or versions of this Kingdom Sideswipe mold. I think there's been around 5, I'm pretty sure. Which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. I think probably if I were to say right now, I think I might like the Shatterglass Sideswipe the most. I don't know, it just really works for me. Love the deco, love the huge gash in the front chest area there. It just looks so cool. And that is pretty much it for comparisons. Let's now get down to accessory storage. So now I can actually show off that whole sort of combining feature between Whisper and Sideswipe. So I did show, of course, the entire transformation or modification earlier. So what you're going to do is get that post there and, of course, that port. And that's just going to line up and store on the top like that. Do keep in mind, if you do actually attach Whisper, of course, it does remove another possibility or option of accessory storage. So it does somewhat limit the ways and, of course, the areas you can actually attach those accessories. So do keep that in mind. You can just leave it off to the side. Of course, that does open more possibilities and ways to attach accessories, but I actually kind of like it on there. I think it really adds a lot to this alt mode. As for the other accessories, he does come with 2 brand new molded swords, which are identical, which look quite cool in my opinion. And these just store on the side using that tab and slot right there. That just tabs into place. Same goes for the other side. Tab that into place. And as for his final accessory, it's this rocket launcher. And typically, like with the Kingdom Sideswipe or the Kingdom Red Alert, when this Minicon was not included, usually you would attach the rocket launcher to the top. So that's why I mentioned that. If you do have the Minicon on there, you cannot also attach the rocket launcher. Typically what I do, because the Minicon is there, is I just sort of attach it to the side. Either side really doesn't matter. I just attach it to the side there, which I think looks pretty cool. And there is a corresponding, of course, other post on their side. So it really doesn't matter which side you do. And that is pretty much it for all the accessories and features and Sideswipe and Whisper's alt mode. Let's now get down to transformation. So now for transformation, I'm going to start off with the Minicon Whisper. So I'm just going to move Sideswipe off to the side for now. You're actually going to flip to the underside. You're going to disconnect the legs like that. Just hinge these all the way down. And how these were tabbed into places, there's these little spikes here and there's these slots right there. And that's how that was tabbed into place. So you're just going to hinge the legs down. You're actually going to get the heel spurs, flip these pieces back like that. Then you're going to get this entire back fin section on the top of the jet. Hinge this entire section forward on that hinge. This is going to form pretty much the entire crotch and chest region of the Minicon. Then you're going to get this entire front tip or nose cone of the jet. There's this post here and there's that port right there. That's just going to plug into place just like that. Then you can hinge the arms out and down and just put them in whatever position or orientation you like. And as for these entire little back wings, they are actually removable. So if you do not like them, you can remove them and put them off to the side. I'm not really sure if that was Hasbro's intent to be customizable. I really don't know. I actually tend to leave them on. So I'm actually going to angle them up just a tad bit like that because I think that creates for a more dynamic appearance and pose. And that's pretty much it for the transformation for Whisper. So let's actually now transform Sideswipe. So if you do have any use or release of the Siege, the Kingdom, you know exactly what to do here. If this is your first time experiencing this mold, it's very straightforward, very fun, a really good fiddle figure. So what you want to do is go to the side, disconnect the little doors on the side like that. And how these were tabbed into places, there is a tab on the inside of the panel, and there's a slot pretty much where the elbow of the arm is. Then you're going to go to the underside, hinge the arms and the shoulders out like that, hinge them out like that. Then you can actually flip out the hands flip out the hand and just fully straighten out and expand or kind of extend the arm like that. Then you can actually hinge this entire panel out like that. And then what you can do is actually fold these panels in. And then you're going to open up these panels on the underside of the car where the leg region is. And then you can fold out this entire leg region, just fully expand them and extend them like that. And here's actually a bit of a trick. If it's hard to actually get the feet out, you can actually do this pretty cool trick I learned. If you do hinge the top of the legs back, it'll actually push these sections in and it'll essentially push the feet out so that you don't have to pick at them or cause any paint chips. So it's a pretty useful trick that I learned. Then you're going to close those panels in, separate out the legs. Then you can actually get this entire top front portion of the car, hinge this entire section down. There is a tab on this panel and a slot pretty much where the crotch or the waist is. Just tab that into place, hinge the arms down. Let me just kind of quickly straighten him up and stand him down like that. And then I'm going to bring in Whisper and place them alongside of them. And there we have the transformation for Sideswipe and Whisper into their robot modes. Let's now take a look at the details. Here we have Sideswipe and Minicon Whisper in their robot modes. Let's take a look at the details. I'm going to start off by taking a look at the details of Minicon Whisper. So I'm just going to put Sideswipe off to the side for now. So starting at the very top with that Heska with some really nice light gray for the entire helmet section, with some gold and dark gray for the entire wing sections in the back. I do like the very interesting kind of angle and design with them. I also really do like the entire dark red color for the visor. I also do like the really cool kind of spikes or almost fang design actually going down the side of the face. I think that looks really cool. We have a really interesting kind of triangular, almost half diamond shape for the entire chest with a really cool gold, dark red, and dark black-ish gray color. And I actually really like the very interesting hand design. So I guess there's several ways you could probably interpret this. Maybe you could see this as like a cannon or like a blaster like forming on his arm, or you could say maybe he just has like 3 fingers. These entire sections here actually do form the entire back kind of booster or rocket engine of the spaceship mode. So it's pretty cool how the hand actually also acts as the booster for the other mode. But again, you could probably interpret this as maybe a cannon, or he just has 3 fingers. I kind of see it as like a blaster, like a cannon forming out of his arm, because I think that's cooler. I also really like the kind of turquoise blue for the entire shoulder and the hand, and there's some more of that dark gray for the bicep and forearm, and there's some more of course for the legs, and there's some more of that kind of greenish blue for the top of the legs. And if we do flip to the back, overall pretty well filled in. He does have a few gaps here and there, but do keep in mind this is like half the size of a core class figure, so the budget is significantly less. Also, of course, you do have to keep that in mind for articulation as well. And considering this isn't a pack or in a set of 2 other figures, a Deluxe and a Voyager, this is definitely not, where the majority of the budget is going. I was not expecting that much for this Minicon, but for how small it is, I actually think it's a really cool Minicon. I do hope, since we're getting Minicons like in the Shattered Glass now, also we're actually going to get a Minicon with that new PulseCon exclusive Jolt and Hotshot. Hopefully this means we'll actually be getting more Minicons like in the main like Stew series and Legacy Evolution. I know we're getting core classes, but like some smaller Minicons that are like actually included, it's like Deluxes and maybe Voyagers and Leaders. I think that'd be really cool if they started doing that. As for accessories, he does not come with it. I actually did come with a really cool idea, or kind of thought of a really cool idea Hasbro could have done, is because these 2 sections or these 2 wings are actually removable. It's that kind of standard post-import system. They actually have not said why they're removable. I guess I'm actually heard a few people complain about the wings, like they don't like the design or the look of them. So if you don't like them, you can remove them and put them off to the side. I actually do like it. There is actually some articulation in the wing. They can hinge up and down. But what I'm trying to get to is, if you do remove them, I thought a really cool idea was maybe we could actually attach them to like the arm, and maybe act as like a shield or a sword. That would have been a pretty cool idea if Hasbro wanted to go the extra mile. Just a thought, of course, considering there's no other accessories, but unfortunately they did not take that opportunity. But as I mentioned before, there's a bit of articulation in the wings, no articulation in the head or waist. There's some articulation in the arms so they can move out and in, forward and back. So interesting enough, the elbow can actually bend forward and back, and that's pretty interesting. There is no rotation out of the wrist or the hands. As for the legs, of course, they can kick also forward and back, and just like the elbow, they can also bend forward and back at the knee, and there is nothing out of the foot or the ankle pivots. Overall, pretty good articulation. As I said before, it's like half the size of a core class figure, or a tad bit smaller. I wouldn't say it's at Micromaster size, like 86 Rumble. That one's pretty small for a core class figure. It's just slightly taller than a Micromaster, but of course slightly shorter than a core class figure. So do keep in mind, of course, since most of the budget will be going to the other figures, the articulation and stuff like that won't be as much, but still, for its size, I'm actually pretty impressed. Now, quickly taking a look at the details of the main figure part of this review, that being a Sideswipe. This actually looks absolutely amazing. So starting at that head sculpt, a brand new head sculpt, definitely resembles Armada Wheeljack, and I really do hope this is a pre-tool as in a figure, you know, before another figure. Hopefully we can get that. I also do hope, considering for, you know, I'm pretty sure like every other version or variation of this mold so far has been an exclusive, you know, like the original Kingdom Sideswipe, that was an Amazon exclusive. There was the Kingdom Red Alert, that was a Walgreens exclusive. We've actually had several Walmart exclusives of this mold. Hopefully if they do, of course, we could be wrong, but hopefully if they do an Armada Wheeljack using this mold, hopefully it's a mainline, because it's a very popular character. A lot of people have been wanting more Armada figures. Also, all the other Armada figures we've been getting, like, you know, the Commander Class, Hotshot, Megatron, all of them have been mainlines, so hopefully maybe this will actually be very helpful for a lot of people because they want that character. Also, like I said before, a lot of people probably want this Sideswipe mold but haven't been able to get it because it's always exclusive, so I think it'll really please just a ton of people if Hasbro's listening. Hopefully if they do an Armada figure, it's in the mainline. If they want to do an exclusive, I guess at the very most they can do a Target exclusive, because it seems to me that Target exclusives are pretty easy and accessible. Don't do like an Amazon, because I do know that'll probably piss people off because it's pretty hard to get some Amazon exclusives. But that's really my only worry or concern or hope if they do an Armada figure of Wheeljack. Or we could be wrong. Maybe they could be doing a brand new mold. We really don't know. It's just a few details like the chest and the head sculpt really do point towards an Armada Wheeljack. But speaking of that chest, I do love that huge kind of gash or sort of scar across the chest. And if you're wondering, oh, is this just like, you know, painted? Is it actually in like a deep cut? Yes, there is actually a different sort of layer or kind of like an indentation in the entire figure or the chest. You can actually can put your finger in there and it does go down or in deep to the figure, which is pretty cool. And if you do look close enough, there's actually some really nice kind of circuitry detailing done in silver with some really cool kind of pipes and wires. And I still can't get over that purple Autobot symbol. It's super, super weird to see. And we do have that Decepticon symbol, which if you are wondering why there's two, I actually did mention earlier during transformation. So if you missed that, go back and watch that portion of the video. But I do have to say, maybe they could have made the Decepticon symbol just a tad bit bigger, because a part of the description, he does say he's leaving the Autobots and becoming a Decepticon. So maybe they could have put maybe a bigger one like on the shoulder or the forearm. That would have been a nice touch, because it is very, very small and almost, I would say, passable by some people. Because truth be told, when I first purchased this figure, I had no idea there was a Decepticon symbol on this figure, so it is quite small. Maybe just a tad bit bigger would have been better. But I do like the gray for the entire forearm and bicep, and a bit of a darker gray for the entire hand, with some more of that kind of turquoise greenish blue mixture for the shoulders and a bit at the chest as well, and a lot where the legs are concerned. And I do like all the panels and the layers, and there's some more silver for the feet, and again that really cool kind of star badge design for the wheel. I really like that design. I always found it actually kind of cool how you can see the front wheel kind of peeking through where the shoulder is. I thought that was kind of cool. And if we do flip to the back, overall, one major plus with the Siege and Kingdom releases of this mold is he does not even have a backpack. There's no arm kibble, no waffling, no kibble, no panels. Just so impressed, so sleek and compact. It's just really exactly what you want for any figure or deluxe class figure. So very impressed in that aspect. And now for articulation, I'd say it's overall relatively the same. Like if you do have Sideswipe, Railer, any of those, it's pretty much the same. Probably maybe the articulation is slightly different where the head is concerned, because of course it is a brand new mold. It might be slightly articulated more. I wouldn't say it's like less or any, you know, major change, but like where the arms, the legs are concerned, it's pretty much the same. So of course the arms can move out and in, forward and back. There is a bicep rotation and elbow bends. There is nothing out of the wrist, mostly due to transformation. The head can look up and down, tilt side to side, and actually look down a little bit, and of course look left to right. As for the waist can rotate all the way around. The legs can kick forward and back. There is a bit of rotation at the top of the leg. It can also kick out to the side, and there is also a knee bend and an ankle pivot. I think probably the knee bend could have been a tad bit better, and of course the main area which really could have improved is the wrist rotation. But you know, there's been like so many versions of this mold, it's not really a surprise to many people by now. Also, it's a deluxe. I'd say a good 50% of the time deluxes don't even have a wrist rotation, so I really wouldn't say it's that big of a deal. I'd say probably definitely one area that could be improved, not just because of course it's a deluxe or anything. I think the knee bend could be just a tad bit better. And let me just quickly straighten him up, and then we can actually cover the accessories. I did briefly mention them earlier in the review, and I can actually show how all of them store on this figure. So the standard rocket launcher, which the rocket in the actual holster, kind of the thing that holds the missile, is actually removable, so you can pull off some really cool kind of firing poses or explosion poses. And you can store this in his hand, but do keep in mind, if you do store the rocket launcher in his hand, you won't be able to store both swords. So I typically do store at the shoulder. I think that looks the best that way. There's that tab and slot. And I think that looks pretty cool. And if you did see when I was actually showing off the back of the figure earlier, there is also a post or a port on his back, so you can store some weapons back there as well. But as for the two identical swords, they can just store in his hands with that post and a port system. Same for the other side. And I think that looks really cool. Love the swords. If you don't know, I just love melee weapons. Whenever Hasbro does them, they pull them off really good. And I'm actually really surprised because, you know, for a long time, we knew we were going to get an 86 Hot Rod repaint into a Shatterglass Rodimus, but we had no idea we were going to be getting a Shatterglass Sideswipe. And even if we knew that, you know, with no images, I was expecting, of course, oh, it's just going to be a direct repaint of that Kingdom Sideswipe mold. But we have a brand new head sculpt, some brand new accessories, so we definitely had a lot more than I was expecting. I'd say probably my only complaint is maybe it would have been nice if there was like some secondary storage for the actual, you know, swords, because there's multiple ways you can store the rocket launcher. So it would have been nice maybe if you could store like the swords back here somewhere. That would have been a nice touch, but a very minor complaint. But let me just quickly bring all the figures in. There's a Minicon next to him, and we can actually get into some comparisons. So here is one quick comparison actually with another Shatterglass figure that came with the Minicon, that being Flame War and Fireglide. Probably definitely in my top 5 favorites of the Shatterglass figures, and still definitely my favorite use or repaint of the Legacy Prime Universe RC, because I just love the flame detailing, love that added Minicon. And this is what I've been saying, I just love the little bonus Minicons. They should definitely do this for future figures, not even exclusives, because both these are Hasbro Pulse exclusives, so it'd be really cool to see in the main line some more, you know, little extra Minicons, or they could just actually sell some, you know, Minicons at retail, like the Micromaster size. I do know we're getting core class figures, but you know, some of these Minicons, like from Armada and other series, they weren't quite that scale. They were a bit smaller, so hopefully we can get some more of those soon. But two just really good figures, definitely in my top 5 favorite of the Shatterglass figures, but two really cool Minicon partners with them. And I'm actually really glad that Whisper is actually a brand new mold, because typically, you know, they've been taking, whenever they do a Minicon, it's usually just kind of taking the, you know, Earthrise Battlemasters or the Micromasters. I was actually pretty bummed. You know, we got some Minicons in Victory Saber that has that figure, but those were just 2 repaints of the Rescue Patrol. That was kind of disappointing, but I'm actually really happy to see it's a brand new mold, because they could have easily been cheap and just taken an old Siege, you know, or Earthrise one and just repainted it, but they actually went the extra mile and gave us a brand new figure, which is so cool to see. And here he is with the original Kingdom Battle Across Time Sideswipe, and the main changes are where the accessories, the head sculpt, and the chest are concerned. As for, like, you know, the arms, the legs, overall that's, you know, pretty much the same. And as you can see, that missile launcher is the same as well, and he does have that added Minicon. And I'll actually give you kind of a side view if you want. Just kind of turn to the side there. As you can see, quite similar from the side. And I'm just going to take him up to the side. I'll bring Whisper back for one final comparison. Let me just quickly straighten him up there. There we go. Here he is with his pack mates, that being Shatterglass Rodimus Prime. And I think they look so cool side by side. Definitely highly recommend this pack. Also, if you don't know, my Shatterglass Rodimus Prime review is up on the channel right now. You might be wondering why I did review these separately. It's because I actually had never experienced the Stu Series Hot Rod 86 mold before, so I thought I'd definitely, you know, give it some special attention and just review it separately. I didn't want to do, you know, 2 figures in one, because I'd never seen this mold before, so I really wanted to give it all the attention, you know, show all the details as much as I can. But I highly recommend this set, because it's actually a really good deal. I'm pretty sure I got it for about $55, of course, depending if you do have Premier or not. You will have to pay some shipping and the tax, of course, but $55, you know, with, of course, some added fees and stuff like that. But $55 retail is really good, because this is a Voyager Deluxe and a Minicon, and I think it's like 10 or 12 accessories, so it's a really good deal. I'm not really sure the, you know, technical price. I really haven't done the math, but I'm pretty sure, you know, a Voyager and a Deluxe and a Minicon probably should be, if you're doing, you know, the exact math of what all those should be, it should probably be, I would say, in the $70 to $65 range, so it's a pretty good deal. Definitely recommend to get this set, but overall, very cool side by side. That is pretty much it for the comparisons and this mode. Let's now get down to reverse transformation. So I'm actually going to transform Whisper first into his little starship mode. So you're just going to kind of level out and flatten the wings. You're just going to get the arms, and these will just hinge back into these little tabs where the bottom side of the wing are. And of course, there's slots pretty much on the back side of the arms. So those will just tab into place like that. just tab into place like that, just let those click into place. Then you can get the entire front chest piece here, hinge this out, there's that post and ports, and then you're just going to hinge the entire pretty much chest region back, and that fin of course will push out the top. And then what you can do is of course get the feet or kind of the heel spurs, just level these out, and then you're going to fold them under. There's these little spikes or the feet, those will just go into those slots right there. Those will just tab into place like that, and there we have the reverse transformation for Whisper. So let's now transform Sideswipe. You just want to remove all the accessories like that and put them off to the side. Then you're just going to bring the arms out, fold in the hands like that. Then what you can do is open up the legs, tab them together using that tab and slot, fold in the feet like that. Then you can rotate at the waist all the way around. You can open up this entire chest panel right here all the way up. And I actually advise to push the head back because you don't want this entire panel here. This will actually cover the head. You don't want it to scratch up all that really nice details and paint apps. So make sure you just slightly push it back, and then I think you should be fine. And how this is tabbed into place is there's a tab there and a slot right there. Then you're going to bring these little doors out or flaps out like that. And then you can actually bend at the elbow, and there's this entire kind of cutout or space, and the entire arm is just going to fit nice and compact into place. Then of course you can fold that panel down, fold these flaps in like that. There is a tab and slot that's just going to tab into place, and then of course you can just fold this entire section over like that to form the entire back half or rear portion of the car. And there of course there's these bottom doors, 2 tabs, 2 slots that just correspond. That's going to tab into place. And as for adding the accessories, I've shown this before. Tab and slot, and then tab and slot. And then now I'm actually not going to store Whisper on. I'm actually going to add the rocket launcher on top because I think that looks pretty cool. It's just plugging that into place on top and then just putting the missile back in there. And there we have the reverse transformation for Sideswipe and a Minicon Whisper. Let's now get down to the final thoughts. Now for my final thoughts on the Transformers Shatterglass Deluxe class Sideswipe and Minicon Whisper. Keep in mind both of these figures I reviewed in this video are part of a Shatterglass 3-pack with Rodimus Prime, which I have a separate review up on the channel right now. Make sure you go check out that video after this one. I overall think both these figures are amazing. Starting with the included Minicon, I'm so glad that Hasbro is getting back into Minicons. Whisper is overall quite simple, but is a very nice little bonus for this Shatterglass pack. It's the standard Minicon articulation, the ball joints at the major limbs and hinges with some nice details like the dark red for the visor and a very interesting shade of blue for his main color of the figure. He transforms into a small spaceship type vehicle, which can also be modified to attach to Sideswipe in his alt mode. So now as for Sideswipe, this figure is most likely going to be a pre-tool of an Armada Wheeljack. Several things give that away. The brand new head sculpt and the damaged chest are just dead giveaways that this is a pre-tool of Armada Wheeljack. Sideswipe is using the Kingdom Sideswipe mold, but with the brand new head sculpt looking quite similar in design to a certain Armada character. He also has a brand new sculpted damaged chest piece, which looks awesome with the huge slash across the chest. As for articulation, if you have any previous use of this mold, you pretty much exactly know what to expect. If this is your first time with this mold, overall I would say it's pretty average for a deluxe class figure. As for the tolerances across the figure, they're pretty good with some nice tight joints. The transformation from a robot to a sports car is really simple and fun, a really good fit of figure that you can transform back and forth. Accessories Sideswipe comes with the standard rocket launcher that we've seen countless times with this mold, which can attach onto his shoulder in his robot mode and the side or top of the car in his vehicle mode. Also included are 2 brand new identical swords done in this really nice turquoise blue. He can hold both swords in his hands in his robot mode and store them on the sides of his car in his alt mode. The sports car looks very futuristic and sleek. I like how all the accessories can be stored on the vehicle in 7 different ways. Let me know what you think of this figure in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next time.